Hi and welcome to Gender Speaker live show. We're here on the 18th, 18 days so far. And today I'm talking about transitioning on the job. So, transitioning on the job. This is the fifth really in this week of talking about dealing with transition and dealing with trans and non-binary issues in the workplace. And I picked up yesterday the last couple of slides. We're really talking about how do we make a workplace more trans inclusive, and the most important thing that we have to deal with in any workplace when it comes to trans or non-binary is that process of transition. Now, this is a scary step for anybody who is trans. I mean, really, really scary. It took me years. I was actually self-employed, but doing contract work for a high-tech company. And I was, been working with them for about 10 years. And I was terrified. But I'd reached the point where I knew I was going to have to come out and going to have to deal with it. So I want to take you a little bit through trying to understand what's going on for a trans person and why everything seems to happen suddenly out of nowhere and then seems to happen also quickly, because it's like nothing's going on and boom, suddenly it's all there. That's the appearance. When I did my master's degree, I looked at and studied the coping strategies of trans women, because I obviously now had been out, come out, had felt the consequences of that in having pretty much all my work suddenly vanish overnight. So I knew just how difficult this whole process was. Sorry, I've got all sorts of notifications suddenly decided to come. I'm trying to get rid of them. So there we go. There are three stages. There's childhood. Well, I kept myself really quiet in childhood. Some people don't. Some people, from the moment they're children, the girl really should be a boy, the boy should be a girl. Or they're just very, a boy is very, very feminine and very girly. The girl is a bit of a tomboy. And some, for a lot of kids, that's just the way they grow up, and they grow out of that and they get on with their life. Some turn out to be gay, some are straight. It's very difficult in childhood to know what's going on. And that's part of what's going on with all this somewhat toxic debate online sometimes, because it's often all about how do we treat children. Well, what we do know is that if children are not supported through that process, then the likelihood that things will get worse, because they will lose their sense of self-esteem. They're trying to deal with that sense of who am I inside, and that's really where we go. Coming out is the process of deciding to tell the world. For a lot of people, that happens in teens. Kids suddenly learn, feel, oh yeah, I'm gay, I'm fancy boys, or I'm gay, I fancy girls. Or, oh my God, I'm trans, or I'm non-binary. And all of those senses, because we're mixing now with other kids who are beginning to come out. And certainly when you get to university, it's very strongly there. You're away from home and suddenly you can be yourself. And so a huge chance that having got into the LGBTQ society, you'll think, okay, fine, that's it, I'm out. And once you're out, this is the whole thing. Before you come out, you can secretly do stuff. You can sneak into gay bars. You can go to the odd clubs. You can go away from town and do stuff completely secretly. This is what I did. But once you're out, once you've told your family, told your friends, told that the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back. So that's the first stage, is coming out and actually telling people that this is what it is. And often quite quickly after that comes the point of saying, I just this is who I want to be. We tend to term this in the early stages gender variant or gender incongruent, and you may see with people in the workplace some degree of gender incongruence. That is, they don't conform to the stereotypical expectations of what it means to be male or female. So it might be, boys, wearing a bit of makeup, such like. Now, I was very lucky, actually, at one stage, because I was in my early 20s when all of a sudden David Bowie exploded. Well, Ziggy Stardust exploded on the scene. I went to the very first tour of the Ziggy Stardust concert in 1971 at the Rainbow in Finsbury Park. the Rainbow Theatre. Amazing. And that was the first time I'd been anywhere, because I was about 21, looking around at guys wearing very feminine clothes and very, makeup and, nails done. And it was, oh God, it was like being thrown into a world I wish I could be part of, but I worked in the insurance industry. So I had this big battle. So it had to be, I had to be a weekend glam rock as well, and just play with it from time to time. But it's still scary, because back then, certainly nobody really easily accepted it. So this is the question that people are trying to deal with. Who am I? Who is this person? What's going on in here? I used to go online, find all sorts of, I find it was the early days of the internet when I was changing gender. And I was trying to find all these questionnaires and things to try and figure out, am I transsexual? Am I transgender? What is it? What am I? And we're still trying to find that. We go to counseling, we go to all sorts of people. We go online to get involved in all sorts of discussion groups to try and figure out, who am I? Am I gay? Am I lesbian? Am I trans? What's happening? And when you've got, like, now we have nearly 100 different labels trying to fit yourself in and think, where do I fit? Who's my tribe? Who is it I want to be? So what happens for most people, and this is the thing that you won't see, is that there are invisible changes going on. And I'm going to deal primarily now with what's happening when somebody is transgender. That is, they are going to change their gender, either to go totally from male to female, female to male, or they're going to sort of end up somewhere in between. But they're going to shift from being stereotypically male or female into being the other gender or neither gender. And the first stages, particularly when someone's changing from one to the other, are what I'm going to call invisible changes. Now, these are, they might be going out and they might be socializing, but they will keep social life and work life very, very separate, and make sure they're separate, so that you don't go socializing where you work. You socialize in I go to Manchester to socialise, or go to London to socialise, but not going to do it in Hull. Even though there are clubs I could go to in Hull where I would be quite accepted, I might bump into people I know. So this is what happens. People go to the other town in order to socialise, and other people come to ours to socialise, so that there's less chance of bumping into people they know. Then they're going to maybe go to the GP and get a referral. Now, when I changed gender, you had to have a psychiatrist actually assess you and say, I think this person's gender dysphoric or gender identity disorder, and then refer you into a gender identity clinic. Now you go to your GP, or you can even in some cases self-refer. The problem is there's a lot more people doing it. The waiting lists are huge. For young people, the waiting list is 60 months now, 5 years. From the moment you say, I think we need to go and see a gender specialist, 5 years before you get to see anyone. That's just absolutely crazy. But that's the way things are. For when I first wanted to get do this, is back in the 90s, I decided, I'd just come out, and I wanted to go to just like 2000. It was 5 years before I got to the gender clinic, because there wasn't one. They closed it for a while, and they reopened it. So often there have been long, long waits and queues to get to see the specialist. So when we get to the gender clinic, what's going to happen there is the gender clinic will now start an initial assessment. Usually takes 2 meetings, during which they're going to determine, is this person gender dysphoric? And the problem is that we can all see the standards of care. We can look it up online. We can find out exactly what it means to be transgender, exactly what the specialists are looking for, and we can make sure that that's what they see. I think once people have got in their mind that this is what they're going to do, what they want is for things to move as quickly as possible. The problem is that what the health clinic wants to do is slow things down as much as possible. Let's let you wait. Think about this. This is a big step. Let's take 6 months to ponder this before. We've already had a lifetime pondering it. This is this urgency to get it done, and then there's everybody trying to slow you down. If you've got money, you can do it quicker, but for most of us, we haven't. So we're going through this process, and there comes a point at which the gender clinic says, we're going to put you on the care path. But there is a condition, a huge step that has to be taken. In order for you to get surgery or most of the medical treatment, hormones and everything else, you have to be on the care path for a period. You have to be basically living in your acquired gender is what they call it. You have to have actually changed socially into this new gender for a period of 2 years. And that starts usually from the moment that you actually start going out in the world and living. So they want to see that you've changed your name, you've changed your other documents, your passport, your driving license, and that you've told your family and your work and that you're going to work now in your new gender, and that you do that for a period of 2 years before you get treatment. So when people come to you in the office and say, look, there's something I've got to tell you. I'm transgender and I need to start changing. That isn't because they want to do that at that stage. It's because they haven't got a choice. The gender clinic have said, if you want any more, if you want to go onto the care path, if you want us to start considering you for hormone treatment and all the other treatments that come along for facial hair removal and for breast reduction and all the things that might want to happen for being a trans man or trans woman, you've got to tell everybody. You've got to come out and you've got to live with it. And a part of it is actually saying, if you can't cope with living in a social world and all the rubbish that's going to happen to you, all the bullying and if you can't cope with that, then probably not a good idea for us to support you. That's pretty brutal, isn't it? They don't actually say that, but that's literally what's happening. If you can't cope with transitioning on the job, if you can't cope with transitioning in the world, then you're not going to get any help. So we have to do it. We come to work and we say, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And suddenly you think, oh my God, what? And this has come out of nowhere. Particularly, nobody had any idea when I did it. But I did it in a huge, big way. I turned up at a function, company's year-end function, and in a dress. Well, not just a dress, sequins, hair, makeup, the whole lot. Blew everybody away. So that was it. Now let's just have a look at what's happening, because one of the first things I think you need to do with anything is you need to sit down and talk to somebody. This is the process of transition on the job starts with this memorandum of understanding. It is literally sitting down with a questionnaire and figuring out what are the step-by-step rules. What are the ways? What does this person want to happen? Technically, they could just literally turn up one morning and say, I've changed gender. Okay, I'm a woman now. Turned up, I'm a man now. And you'd have to just deal with it. But most people will come because they don't know how other people think. They don't know what's going to happen. And there's so much that's going to, it's probably better that this happens, that they come and talk to you and you talk to HR and you look at the process and start. Let me just quickly bring in the PowerPoint presentation again and just look at a few thoughts of what we were talking about yesterday, and just expanding on those so you can get a sense of what's happening. First thing is just have a look at, and it's worthwhile thinking about this now before it actually happens and somebody jumps at you. Yeah, how LGBT inclusive are you? Do you include LGBT people in your marketing materials and training materials? Have you got specific training in place on LGBTQ harassment? Are you taking steps to prevent it? Not just wait until it happens, stop it from happening in the first place. Be seen to be proactive is going to make everything more comfortable and make people feel more comfortable at coming out, because it's possible you may even have people in your office now who want to come out, but they don't see signs around them that this is going to be an easy, friendly place for them to do that. So the risk is then, if you've got talented people who are transgender or even gay or lesbian, and they're frightened to come out because it feels like this is an uncomfortable place where they might get some harassment, then what they're going to do is try and find somewhere where they can work which isn't going to give them that kind of threat. So you're going to lose really good people, and that's going to cost a lot of money. If you've got an active employee resource group, ERG, okay, so is are LGBT people actively supported? Bigger the organization, more important it is that you have this. Have you got clear policies in place? Do staff meetings, when you have them, do they address LGBTQ issues? Do you bring them up? Are they discussed so that people get used to the idea that this is part of the world around you? Posters, displays, things going on around so that people are aware, actually, yeah, this is an organization that's very supportive. And you think about some of the big supermarkets, things that are being, supporting prides now with, campaigns over the time of the Pride Month, really making it clear that this is an organization that welcomes LGBT people into the organization. You have to make that happen. Otherwise, no one is going to transition on the job. They're not going to want to be there. And that means you become less profitable, less effective, and less liked as an organization. Support LGBT events, campaigns. Are you an LGBT inclusive organization? You need to be, or no one's going to transition. So if you've got nobody transitioning, nobody coming out in the workplace, take a look at your workplace. Is this a place where it really is scary? Because trust me, I cannot believe how scary it felt for me. Now, let's look at trans inclusion. Trans non-binary awareness training, is that specifically included? Are people able to come out on the job? Are there policies which make it clear how you all handle that? Somebody who's trans needs to read before they come out, this is what I do when I come out in this place. So that actually they feel, even though nobody is out or nobody's come out, that actually you're prepared for this. You're ready for it. You're waiting for them to come and you want to help them. That's the sense of what I want to feel. They want a sense that they remain valued, continue after treat. That again should be part of your policies. If you have trans people there, it's important that it's seen that they don't get hassled, that they do carry on in their job, that actually things all work out. Active buddying, helping people out. When people come out, one of the processes you need to be able to say is, look, I'm going to connect you up with someone who's going to help you along. Have you got diversity champions who will actually help somebody? And if someone's come out as a trans woman, make sure you assign a female buddy to them to help them along the line. I've got to learn how to live as a woman. It's very different. Same with a trans man. Assign a male diversity champion to them so that they've got this connection with somebody who's there to help them get through any of the weird stuff that's going to be happening, because we don't know. We don't know what it's like to live in the other gender. We have to learn it. And it's a hard, you've had a life. Most of us have had a whole, 20 years growing up in childhood, learning how to be men and women. And so all of a sudden you've got to swip it. Not easy. Support for health and welfare, that needs to be clear what's going to be happening. And all of these things, confidentiality respected, everybody needs to know that's going to happen. So, pronouns. This is the number one cause of harassment for trans people, is that they get the wrong pronouns. People can't get used to it. So when I change gender and I come to you and I get my memorandum of understanding, almost the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to say, and my new name is Ricky. My new name is Sam. So we'll come up with a new name. From this point onwards, I want everybody to use that name and with it associated pronouns, she, her, hers. That's what I prefer. Him, he, him, his. That's what, a lot of trans men will prefer. And it takes a while to get used to this. Everybody's being used to, Bob and him, and now it's Sheila. And they're going to have to make that switch. So every time they think of Bob, they're going to think, no, it's not Sheila now. Or whatever Bob has decided now to be called, to call himself, herself. And do you see how easy it is? Even there, this is the problem. If you connect a male name, and you'll almost automatically then connect it with the wrong pronoun. I'm a father of children, so my kids had to get used to saying, "This is Ricky. She's my dad." Yeah, so it sounded weird. I just tried to make them sure they didn't actually shout "Dad" across the supermarket when we were out. When I was, because that draws attention. What if somebody's neither male nor female, transitioning to somewhere in between? Non-binary. Well, what will happen there? The most difficult thing there, they're just going to dress in a very neither male nor female way. Now, you might find that men are a little bit more feminine than you expect, that women will be a little more masculine than you expect. Actually, they're sort of somewhere in the middle, in a place where the clothes could be worn by either men or women. But there's a tendency, if you're non-binary, if you're out non-binary, if you want to be noticed as non-binary, then you make a statement about it. If you don't want to be noticed, then you don't. You subdue it and put it down. So then we might be looking for a different type of pronouns. I know you're looking, you're thinking, oh no, I can't. I'll never remember that. And you're right. It's so difficult. People keep coming up with a whole range of different, and this isn't even all of them. I've seen a few that recently that aren't even on this list. And no matter how much people think this is a great idea to have a completely different set of pronouns, it is going to be hard to get people to remember to use these, because they've got to remember what the words are in the first place. and they sound so similar to the ones we've got. Zir, Z, Zim, Zir is he, him, here. Can you see? It's difficult. What tending to happen with people who are non-binary is they are switching to the use of the they, them, theirs. That's the plural pronoun, but used in a singular way. And there is a huge amount of history in using this. We do it automatically. Someone's left their purse, their wallet, their jacket. You don't know whether it's a man's or a woman's. It's just, hey, look, someone's left their jacket. You better give it to them. So we use them as a singular pronoun. We do it all the time. If you're writing a book these days, you wouldn't think of putting he, if it's a generic term referring to a person without specifying their gender. You would say them. He, she is really clumsy. We don't do that. If you say she, everybody thinks the book is only for women. If you say he, everybody says, oh, well, he is the default for. No. We're in a world now where nobody accepts he as a default. He means men. If you say he, the book is only for men. If you say she, the book is only for females. So we say they. And that's the way it is. You may not like it. Grammatical, purists will say, oh, that doesn't work. Yes, it does. Even Shakespeare used the plural they, them, theirs. Okay. So it's common. It's part of our culture. In fact, I think it goes back even further than that. But the English language is a bit different then anyway. So that's the thing. Now, you may think any pronouns are cool. There are a few people who handle that. But to be honest, most people are actually quite, we like pronouns the way they are. And if you don't believe that, if somebody started using the wrong pronouns to describe you, the ones you didn't think applied to, so if you're male and somebody said, oh, go and ask her, you say, no, you would get upset. You'd get annoyed. Most people would. If so, in a bit of fun occasionally, you might handle that okay. But if people kept on doing it, and you say, no, it's he. That's the one. No, it's she. That's my pronouns. It's they, them, theirs. Think of it as two people, as male and female in one. That's what helps me. Pronouns are an important part. This is what you need to get used to, because if you don't do it, if you keep using the old name, if you keep using the wrong pronouns, it will result in a claim against you for harassment. Because it comes a point at which people say, no, this is being done purposely. You're purposely doing this because you know it'll annoy me, because you object to the fact that I've changed my gender. You don't like it. You bought into this gender critical thing that says, oh, you have to be a man or a woman, whatever you were born. Let's just accept I can be who I choose to be, and it's not harming you. And all I'm asking you to do is treat me with dignity and respect, and just reflect that by using either the pronouns that I prefer. And there's only really three to deal with. It's either he or she or them. Okay, so let's go back out of my pronouns. And there we are. So final thought, you need to think just a little bit about confidentiality. Make sure, when people change gender, we don't want that information is actually legally required. Once people have changed gender, once they have a gender recognition certificate, it's actually a criminal offense to disclose to somebody their gender. Anybody doesn't need to know it. So make sure you keep on that. So that's just an introduction to the sorts of issues that might be going on. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of detail in this. You've got to think through all this issues. Use of toilets. Oh God, which toilets are we going to be using? How are we going to tackle that one? And there might be issues around that you've got to think about. Some women might have a bit of a problem about, somebody who was, a 40, 50-year-old man in the office who's suddenly a woman, and it's still the same person that they can see, just wearing different clothes. They haven't had surgery. They haven't done anything. They only just started. How are they going to be using the female changing rooms? They feel uncomfortable about that. The trans person themselves might feel uncomfortable. What is the option that you can have? You might have a period of time when you use a disabled toilet, or you have some toilets that are designated gender neutral. It's about coming to an arrangement, coming to agreement, talking it through so that everybody understands and accepts it. Ultimately, if somebody is changing from male to female, female to male, if they get a gender recognition certificate, that certificate has written on it that this person should be treated as male, female in all respects. Every respect. There is no question about it. There's no arguing about it. It's been tested in court, and that's the situation. If it says female, that's female. Doesn't matter what everybody says about it or don't like it. Doesn't matter. That's the law. And that's what we have to comply with. It's taken a long time to get there. Sorry. I don't agree with leaving the European Union, but, the decision's been made and we are leaving. I'm going to have to put up with it. I'm going to try and fight to make sure the best deal happens that we can get for ourselves, or, for me in terms of how it affects me. But I'm stuck with the decision. It's the law. And that's how a democratic society works. So join me again tomorrow, 4:00. I shall be looking at, not quite sure at the moment. I'm going to be following on this theme around, what do we do in terms of gender in the workplace and changing gender. But I'm reading some interesting books at the moment about the way in which women are treated. And it's helping me to reflect on what I've seen. So I think I'm going to begin to move so that next week I'm going to be looking much, much more at that aspect of pure gender. What is the difference between the way we treat men and women, and what can we do to start having some impact on changing that, on making sure we start to get a more gender neutral, gender fair society, because that's my whole mission in life, to try and help to create a world in which everyone is accepted and respected, whatever their gender. I don't think we should be, these divisions that we make, often which are embedded in childhood, are not doing us any good. We need to make sure that we encourage everybody to be the best that they can possibly be. And you can't do that if all the time we're hiding who we really are. So next week, I'm going to be moving much more to what can we do to help people be who they really are. It's my last week of my 4-week, 30-day challenge. We're on day 18 now. So we've got lots more to cover. And my so I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and we're going to be looking a little bit more at gender in the workplace.